You wanna know something funny? Most of my experience and fandom with the Sonic franchise has mostly come from consuming all the external media instead of the games proper. Cartoons, the anime, comics, even the fan artist side. The most I got to explore gaming-wise was a couple of games on the Sega Game Gear, an incomplete run with Sonic Heroes, and on the Generations and Forces as the more quote-unquote modern entries. So in order to understand the game side of this franchise a bit better, and to celebrate that I finally got a controller to play with, I decided to take a look at the Sonic Adventure games. But in order to see if they have aged gracefully in this day and age, we should cover the basics first. The first game has Sonic and his friends dealing with the evil machinations of Dr. Eggman, who this time around has taken control of the ancient creature Chaos. With the two of them on the loose, Sonic and his friends have to hunt the Chaos Emeralds to stop Eggman from helping Chaos reach its true form and bring ruin to the world. And that's about it. The narrative does something funny where the story is being told in a non-linear way. We see events unfold only from the perspective of the character we are playing as, so we have to more or less put together the pieces of what's going on during the other characters' chapters. To my surprise, this game doesn't do what I often saw in the 2D games. Usually when you play as different characters, the only thing that changes is the playstyle, with the level design staying the same. For this game, characters get unique variations of the make Sonic levels, plus a few exclusive ones to fit their playstyle. Sonic, being the main protagonist, naturally gets the longer story and the most dedicated levels for the classic speedy obstacle courses. Speed, of course, being relative, because one thing I'm coming to understand a lot better is that just because Sonic Thing is running very fast, it doesn't mean it's all his gameplay should ever be. Now that I am older, I'm coming to appreciate a bit better when a level is spaced out in a way where I can enjoy more than just the main mechanic. Sonic may be fast and the speedrun friendly timer may be encouraging to beat these levels as fast as possible. But every time this game slows down to make me go through a smaller obstacle challenge so I can reach the next speed section, it gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling. I can see why first-time players will find these slower paced segments weird at first. But replaying them myself and having experienced some of the boost games, I actually like them. You need to have moments where you have to think your way around obstacles, or do some good old-fashioned platforming. Otherwise, just holding forward without doing much else for the rest of the level ends up understaying its welcome. And I mentioned replays because this is just speedrunning 101. You are never going to beat these levels as fast as you think you do. You need to play them a couple of times so you can learn the ins and outs, then finally work out your way towards that coveted S rank. You can actually see that system in full motion when you play the other campaigns, especially Tails and Amy. With Tails, you are mostly playing the same levels as in the Sonic chapters, except it's more of a racing mode against either Sonic or Eggman. The difference with the main levels is that it has shortcuts tailored towards Tails' flying skill, both to help you shave more time off and to hone your reaction times, because you need to be able to notice the right time to take said shortcuts, as they can be missable and in some cases they can get you killed. In the case of Amy, you are also racing, but it is flipped around. Rather than racing against our opponent, you are running away from an invincible obstacle that can only be stunned briefly to give you time to make your way to the next area. I was surprised at how creepy the whole thing was, and it made exploring the levels all the more intense.
Hang on to that balloon. You'll be able to get out from here.
All right! I'm free!
Pacing in this one is also good because the Robot Stalker has segments where it doesn't follow you at all, so you can get some breathing room. And then I got to play Gamma's chapter, and even he flips the idea around. The levers are speed themed like Sonic, but the change is that you are racing against the clock. A timer is constantly ticking down, and you have to destroy enemies in order to extend it. If you fail to do so and it runs out, you die. And that is on top of the ring damage system, so you are always on edge. The amount of variety in each character campaign was surprising, and the best part is they don't overstay their welcome, and that is thanks to the way the narrative is set up. You only play levels that are relevant to where the characters were in relation to Sonic and each other. Their stories are kept short and sweet, so by the end you actually feel like you are getting the full narrative, and you do need it if you want to get the true ending. I liked it. The same way I ended up liking the pacing and signposting on the hub world. Now, maybe it's because I'm in my mid-30s at the time I'm recording this, but I read a lot of comments online on how those who played this as kids got lost in between stages with no idea where they were supposed to go. I was surprised by this because there are multiple things guiding you in the right direction. Characters will comment on where they should be going next. Cutscenes will pan over to where you should go. Public transportation will announce if there are departures or not. But if all else fails, Tikal is in several areas of the map as a ball of light, ready to tell you where you should go. Some NPCs will even comment on recent events and give you a bit of guidance. Point is, there is always something useful going on in the hub levels.
The train headed for the Mystic Ruins will be departing soon.
Now, usually I will mention the negatives at this point, but to be honest, I don't consider them negatives. At least not in the traditional sense. This is a 1998 game. Even with the enhancements of the DX re-release, there are still a few kinks that did not get to age too well, such as having weird moments where characters get stuck in an awkward place you don't even know how it happened, and you cannot get out because the camera is also stuck in the way. High-speed moments getting ruined because Sonic ends up running on walls and the ceiling, and trying to correct course will make him violently turn mid-run, something thankfully later entries fixed to make steering Sonic a lot easier and fun. Other than that, I think the only real negative I could bring up will have to be the Knuckles chapter. It's essentially a treasure hunt, but because the 3 shards you need are found via proximity, it means the levels are super short and don't feel too fulfilling. More could have been done, especially when you consider Knuckles can glide, climb walls, and punch things. I wasn't sure if I wanted to count this as a negative, but now that I think about it, I think it needs to be pointed out. I am rather mixed on the bosses. Sonic's chapter has some really good ones, especially at the end, and Gamma fighting his former friends has its own good moments. But other than that, the bosses in this game feel like they are lacking. They feel too easy, and for those that require you to hit a weak spot, you have to wait for it to show up. Not that there's anything wrong with waiting, it's just that more often than not, you're just jumping around to pass the time. Considering how in some cases you are facing the same boss with 3 different characters, it makes them feel less like a threat and more like padding. Something I am hoping the sequels improve upon, because I have always believed that bosses should be a test of your gameplay skills up until that point.
Mission complete.
There is one more chapter that for years I kept hearing and being told it was the worst part of the game, especially for those who wanted to get the true ending, and that was Big the Cat. That's because while every other character's chapter is more of a proper obstacle course, Big gets an entire fishing focused story. And it's as simplistic as it gets. Just wander around the levels, find Froggy in one of many bodies of water, and then do a clunky fishing minigame in order to capture him. Or you can also try catching the other fishes too. Having played this, I can't help but feel some of the frustration at this chapter may be overblown. Playing at this time in 2025, I believe these levels were made for the sake of being a nice little downtime for players. Every other story chapter is either speedrun focused or combat focused, so having a moment to relax and go fishing actually felt good. It's not perfect, of course, and it has jank all over the place, and you can even lose a life if whatever you were reeling in manages to snap your line. But I still had fun. Coming to this game's story after having watched the Sonic X anime and years of watching internet culture making fun of this entire franchise, and of course knowing full well how the internet is known to make things look worse than they actually are, I think this game is actually quite nice, lovely even. The story is as simplistic as it gets. Everyone is having their own little story arcs, like a Saturday morning cartoon. It's either Sonic looking for the Chaos Emeralds, Tails learning to stand on his own, Amy dealing with a nasty stalker while befriending a robot who then goes on a quest to mercy kill his fellow robots. You see enough context to understand what is happening, and there's barely any gaps between levels. I understand calling this outdated, because it is. This is a late 90s game and 3D gaming was still in its infancy, but not within my 20 hours of playing did it feel like a negative. Do keep in mind, I don't have nostalgia for this game. I don't plan to 100% complete it, but I did appreciate my experience as it was, and may even revisit it in the future. Maybe it helped that I used mods to make the gameplay feel a lot better since the PC port is fairly old. So if I haven't made it clear, I actually recommend this game. Just use mods if you get it on PC for a less janky experience, and use a controller if you can, otherwise you will be very frustrated. Is this the best game ever? Not really. It is a product of its time, but unlike most gamers, I don't consider that a negative. Sometimes a game may not age as gracefully, but that's only because eventually development teams learn and evolve from there. I consider a playthrough of this game more than worth it, because I think we should experience what was a big part of gaming, or at least part of this own franchise, at least once in order to understand where the characters came from, where it went, and where the ups and downs took place. It is especially important to do so in a more nuanced state of mind, because as I always say, anyone can trash a game and call it bad. That is not a special or unique opinion to have. I don't care for that opinion or even the meme. What I want to see is a balance. I want to see the good and the bad, what aged gracefully and what didn't, and if maybe, just maybe, the general consensus was entirely wrong.